The year is 2047. Above the ruins of what used to be a city, a portal tears open the sky, green energy bleeding out of it, tentacles hanging down like it owns the place. 25 years ago, gates started opening all over the world. They called them the gates of hell. And the name wasn't poetic. Humanity is gone. The cities are rubble. Massive monsters wander through the wreckage like they're on a leisurely afternoon stroll through everything humans ever built. And standing in the middle of all of it, one man. A raincoat, a hood pulled low, armor shaped like a skull underneath. In his hand, a severed monster head. He is the only survivor left on Earth. Let that sink in for a second. He moves through the crumbling remains of a building, boots grinding against broken stone, and comes to a stop in front of an elderly man. This older man, gray hair, gray beard, scarred face, missing his little finger, wearing a coat that's seen better decades, studies him with calm, focused eyes. Lightning cracks. The armored man drives his sword into the ground, drops to one knee, and extends the monster head like an offering. The old man picks up a dusty bottle of wine from beside a broken bar sign, takes a sip, and speaks. He's heard the stories. Tales of a man who hunted nothing but demons. Eyes like a predator, relentless, singular. He asks if the stories are real. The armored man wipes his mouth and says it would take too long to explain. He promises the old man will find out soon enough. The armored man opens a set of doors. Inside, lining the walls from floor to ceiling, are monster heads. Dozens of them. Maybe more. And they're not just decorations. The eyes on the severed heads glow. They're aware. One of them speaks, asking if the task is actually real. The armored man confirms it is. He walks through the room and places the head he's been carrying onto the last empty shelf. The head immediately starts cursing at him, demanding to know if he's lost his mind, asking if he actually believes collecting heads is going to let him travel back in time and change anything. The armored man says he just wants to see his daughter. The head goes quiet for a moment. Then it realizes this entire thing, 25 years of surviving alone in a dead world, hunting monster after monster. It was never about power or glory. It was always about one thing. A system prompt appears. The legendary quest requirements for regression have been fully satisfied. But the heads aren't going quietly. A purple glow pulses through the room. They warn him not to expect them to just sit there and watch. The armored man looks at them and says something that cuts right through all of it. They're the ones who created this. They opened the portals. They turned the world into hell. And even they, he says, don't know everything. The system confirms it. 666,666 elite demon heads collected. Requirements met. Regression authorized. The room fractures with purple light. The heads crack and glow. The armored man clenches his fists and makes one thing clear. He doesn't care about the phases, he doesn't care about the rules, and anyone who gets in his way is going to have a very bad time. The system flashes. Task completed. Nexus activated. A pillar of energy tears through the collapsed building and shoots into the sky. Then everything goes white. A dark-haired man with blue eyes jolts upright in bed. He stares at his hands. Looks out the window. Something is wrong, or more accurately, something is right in a way he hasn't felt in a very long time. He throws open the door of another room and finds a small child tucked under a blanket, sleeping peacefully. And just like that, the hardest man in a dead world drops everything he's been carrying for 25 years. But the memory hits him immediately, because this is where it all started going wrong. He remembers standing on a city street holding his daughter's hand while dragons circled overhead, and the city burned beneath them. Both his arms were wrecked. Arrows through one, the other broken. He was praying. Not for himself, he didn't care about himself. Just asking that she be saved. Just her. That's all. And then the monster's mouth opened beneath her feet. He remembers her hand. Remembers holding it after. Remembers what came next. He closes the door quietly, steps into the hallway, and falls to one knee. He starts crying. Not from grief this time, but from relief so overwhelming it has nowhere else to go. He thanks God. Then he opens his eyes, and the relief sharpens into something more focused. because he already knows this peace isn't permanent. He knows exactly what's coming. 3 days from now, the gates of hell open. He watched it happen once already. He's not watching it again. He opens the fridge, drinks some water, and thinks. 25 years, he lived only for himself. Survival, nothing else. If someone had been there to protect her back then, if someone had been strong enough to keep her safe through all of it, he cuts that thought off. He can't afford to think in odds right now. He looks toward her door. She's still sleeping. He straightens up and makes the decision out loud. He will protect her, whatever it costs. Then the system speaks. Dialogue boxes appear in his vision. He's been granted magical abilities. Spiritual magic, beginner level. Spirit eyes, level 1. He stares at his own hand, glowing faintly blue, and raises an eyebrow. He still has his powers from the regression. That's not nothing. He thinks through what this means. Either the time travel carried his abilities forward, or the regressor system itself kept them intact. Either way, he's starting over with more than anyone else in this timeline has. He slips on his coat and runs the numbers. October 11th, 3 days away. That's when the gates open. And he knows something nobody else in this world currently knows. The 8 martial stars, the 8 prophets chosen by the phases to lead humanity's survival, are about to be selected. These 8 were the ones history gave all the glory to. The chosen ones. The ones who got every reward, every rare drop, every milestone achievement. He was there for all of it, watching from the outside. Not this time. He looks toward a staircase leading underground and says it out loud. He's keeping everything for himself. Then he heads down. He follows a tunnel until he spots a sign on the side. Compatibility testing, fortune teller. He pushes the door open carefully. A voice comes from the darkness immediately, confused, saying nobody was supposed to be here today. The man grins and asks how anyone could have found this place. An old man seated in a chair asks what brought him here. The armored man calls him Yaka, says he came to buy something. Then a massive hand shoots out of the shadows and slams him against the wall, lifting him off the ground. The owner of the hand steps forward. A large, horned figure, barely visible in the dark. Yaka demands to know who this person is. The man, dangling in the air and not particularly bothered about it, says he knows exactly what they're doing here. He wants to take the prophet's test. He wants to take the selected person's place. Yaka narrows his eyes, says that's impossible, the selection process is still ongoing. Nobody should even know this location exists. The man confirms it's all true, and he explains calmly that he came early specifically to replace whoever was going to be chosen. Yaksha laughs. The whole room shakes with it. Then he stops and asks with a very different expression if this is the regressor. The one who killed 666,666 elite demons. The one everyone's been talking about. He asks if this man really thought they wouldn't find out. Says the act of regression has disrupted the timeline. Says he's in serious trouble. The man holds up one finger and smiles. Yaka's expression shifts to something uglier. He warns him that mixing up the cards on this chessboard is going to anger the higher phases in ways he can't come back from. The man tells him to get his hand off him. It stinks. 3 swords materialize and drive straight into Yaka's arm. He screams, drops the man, and recoils. The man straightens his coat and mentions, almost casually, that he'd like to amputate Yaksha's arm, but his body isn't quite ready for that yet. No special runes on him currently. He'll have to make do. Yaksha stares at the swords sticking out of his arm and curses. The man corrects him, tells him this is all part of the phases plan. Regression was made possible by them. If these creatures actually think they're operating outside of that, they're fooling themselves. Yaksha opens his mouth to argue and gets slapped, then slapped again on the other cheek. The man asks, genuinely curious, whether Yaksha actually needs his head for decoration or if it's doing something useful up there. Then he asks if Yaka knows what it means to be a regressor. Yaka is on his knees, shaking. The man tells him it means he met the requirement. 666,666 elite demons. He watches Yaka's face process that number, watches the fear take over completely. Yaka shrinks, waves his arms, and announces in a panic that he's weak. Absolutely weak. The man smiles, says he has two things to tell him. First, no member of Yaksha's race is permitted to kill humans before the Hellgate opens. Second, Yaksha is carrying a specific bundle, and that's exactly why he came here. Yaksha startles. The man warns him, don't even think about trying anything when the Hellgate opens. Then he calls Yaka by a different name. His real name, Kure. Kure freezes. Demands to know how he knows that name. The man just smiles and says they're very close. Kure's mouth falls open. He asks, horrified, if that means he's somehow this man's servant. The man scowls. Kure stares at him for a long moment, and then gives up entirely. Above Kure's shrinking figure, a sack tied with red rope begins to loosen. The knot pulls free. The bag opens. The man turns to the side and looks at the dialogue boxes appearing in front of him. He takes his time reading through them. There's a shop, Kure's inventory, unlocked. A steel helmet, magic pinnacle tier. A shield made from oak and metal alloy, 300,000 heads. A sword called Sunstar, relic rank, reportedly capable of slicing stars, cost 1 million heads. A staff of emerald that lets you see your own magical abilities, 400,000 heads. The man stares at the prices. 1 head per monster. He has none right now. He thinks about what 1 million heads would mean, and then realizes with everything he knows about the next 25 years, 1 million heads is just a matter of time. A minor adjustment. Nothing he can't handle. Kure watches him staring into the middle distance and asks what he's been looking at this whole time. The man tells him he can't buy anything right now. Doesn't have a single head to his name yet. The man points at the dialogue box and tells Kure to hand it over. Just like that. Calm, direct, finger pointed at the item like he's ordering off a menu. Kure stares at him. Long silence. Then calls him crazy and asks if he can even read because the scroll costs 80,000 heads, and this man just admitted he has 0. The dialogue box confirms it. The scroll of Yaka, relic rank, one of the 8 major races' artifacts, capable of storing and altering massive amounts of recorded data, powerful enough to serve as a pass for the Prophet's trials, and sitting at a price tag this man currently cannot afford. But there's a note at the bottom. If the user is on friendly terms with the Yaka, he may receive it as a gift. Kure reads that part and absolutely loses it. He starts screaming about the word friendship, reminding anyone who will listen that this man stabbed him in the arm 3 times and slapped him across the face twice. He demands to know why on earth he would give him anything. He says flatly that he's not doing it. End of discussion. The man reaches over and calmly begins pulling the swords out of Kure's arm. Kure screams in pain and asks what he's doing. The man says he's just removing them for him. Then he tosses 2 bundles of cash onto the ground in front of Kure. Kure picks them up, squints at them, and asks what this is supposed to be. The man tells him 20 million won. And if Kure considers them friends, there's another 80 million coming. Kure throws the money aside without a second thought. He points out, with complete certainty, that paper money will be worthless in 3 days when the gates open. He's not wrong, and he knows the man knows it too. The man gives him a cold look and tells him that money is going to save his life. Specifically, on a pitch-black night 2 years from now. Kure pauses, asks what he's talking about. The man tells him to trust that he knows significantly more about what's coming than Kure does, and that even after the gates open, money will always carry weight with humans. It will always have a cost. Kure glances at the cash on the ground. He's skeptical. He mutters that money is everything to humans but just paper to his kind, asks if this man thinks he's being funny. Then adds, reluctantly, that he supposes he'd have to take him at his word. The man's expression doesn't change. He says that even if Kure wanted to argue, he couldn't, because in 2 years, due to his stubbornness right now, he's going to be biting his own elbows. And by then, it'll be far too late to do anything about it. Kure clenches his teeth so hard it's a wonder they don't crack. He declares that his rage exceeds even that of Nogi. Whoever that is, it sounds like a bar that shouldn't be cleared. The man smiles and says he knows. He already knew that too. Kure is sweating. The air twists, and then he hands over the scroll. The man takes it, Kure asks what he's planning to use it for. The man tells him he's going to document everything, use it to record what's happening, and that this scroll is going to be his pass into the prophet's trials. Kure mutters that he has a talent for making things up on the spot, tells him he hopes he knows what he's doing, and says he's had enough of all of this. The man presses his index finger to the open scroll. The room shatters like glass. He walks through the broken pieces, eyes forward, and says out loud, "It's time to meet the phases." On the other side, a massive crimson eye is staring down at him. And walking beside him across a bridge surrounded by blue lights and darkness is Kure, who keeps glancing at the man nervously and looking away every time he gets caught. The man asks why Kure is following him. Kure tells him to just keep walking and watch how painful his death is going to be. Classic. Then Kure asks a real question. He acknowledges what's obvious. This man's knowledge of the prophet's test, the rune language, all of it comes from a past life. And now he's here trying to take the prophet's place. So Kure wants to know, if he already knows who the actual prophet is supposed to be, what does he intend to do about it? The man's expression shifts slightly. Kure presses, is he embarrassed? Because what he's doing right now is straight up stealing someone else's privilege. The man says one name, Choui Wisu, and the story takes a moment to show exactly who that is. Dark hair, red eyes, high-collared black cloak, bone necklace, grinning like something that hasn't been human for a long time. One of the 8 martial stars. An unparalleled being surrounded by monsters and zombies, in a ruined city, wrapped in a red aura. A man who raises the dead and rules over them. A man who matched Alec, the strongest of the 8. Not exactly the kind of person you'd want showing up in your next life. The story goes further. Choi Wai-su in surgical clothes, white gloves, medical mask. A man chained to a table with tape over his mouth, red eyes full of tears. Because Wai-su needed high-quality corpses for his resurrection abilities, and the most efficient way to get them, in his mind, was to create them himself from living subjects. He conducted experiments. He smiled while doing it. To him, other people were just raw material. The man says Wai-su treated him the same way. Kure scoffs and says he has no sympathy. Past life or not, he's just an ordinary person now and should be more careful about who he's provoking. The man tells him he already knows exactly who he's upsetting. That man tormented him for 18 years. But, he adds, if only Wai-su knew an unexpected visitor was coming. A system message appears. You have entered the realm of the Lord of the 7 Snakes. The man looks up. A massive presence fills the space. The Lord of the 7 Snakes speaks immediately, not to greet them, but to demand why Kure let people in. His fingers are twitching. He makes it clear. Only a prophet is permitted entry. The person standing before him is not the prophet he selected. The man lifts his head and tells the Lord of the 7 Snakes that his greatest mistake was not selecting him. That he should have chosen him from the start. A massive red eye appears on the screen. Kure jumps in, announces loudly that this man is an assassin, a regressor, the one who killed 666,666 elite demons. He points straight at the eye. The Lord of the 7 Snakes says it plainly. This man inverted their game board. He is unworthy of being a prophet. The man tells him to look into it himself. Says he is unquestionably superior to Choi Wai-su, the one already selected. The voice goes quiet. The enormous eyes begin to close, and the man's mind goes somewhere else for a moment, back to that street. His daughter's hand. His broken arm arrows through the other one. The prayer he made that didn't get answered the way he needed. The monster's jaws closing. What was left in his hand after? He replays it. Again. Again. He asks what it is, this thing he keeps seeing. Something blue touches the memory of their hands together. His expression goes cold. He says her name. Sua. He closes his eyes, then opens them. The Lord of the 7 Snakes calls him a follower. Chuckles at the idea of a regressor who altered the timeline bowing to him. He seems amused, almost entertained. The man doesn't bow. He drops to one knee, pulls a dagger, leaps upward, and drives it straight into the massive red eye. Silence. The Lord of the 7 Snakes says, unexpected. White mist bleeds from the wound. The man lands, stands, and the Lord asks how he became this powerful. The man tells him even the most powerful being doesn't know everything. This force, whatever it is that came back with him through the regression, either validates what he did or is a reward for surviving 25 years of absolute hell. He's not sure which. Maybe both. A hand snaps its fingers nearby, black nails, sharp, and a ring of purple flames circles both the man and Kuray. The Lord of the Seven Snakes looks down at him from a high throne, eyes narrowing with something that might be genuine interest. He asks again about his power. The man tells him Choi Waisu received his power from the Lord himself, through the prophet selection. And the man standing before him right now carries something comparable. Without being chosen, the Lord goes quiet again, then says it's fascinating, that he couldn't have imagined a regressor becoming something like this on his own. He looks at the three enormous white snakes coiled nearby and speaks almost to himself, that there is apparently someone out there who killed 666,666 demons while watching the sun and moon rise and fall over a dead world. He calls it a pointless feat, technically, but says he feels something about it regardless, that reaching this conclusion alone, on his own terms, means something. Then his expression settles back into something final. He says, with genuine regret in his voice, that his choices are already made. He has already selected a prophet. He crosses one leg over the other on his throne, snakes draped around him, and smiles. The decision is final. The man tells him that's not actually the case. The Lord of the Seven Snakes stops smiling, asks what he means. The man explains it simply. He is the only one who survived. The prophet that was selected did not make it. Every supreme being, every prophet chosen by the higher phases, all of them died before him. He was the last one standing in a world where everyone else was already gone. He makes something clear right then and there. He didn't come here to beg for the prophet position. He came to offer a chance. If the Lord of the Seven Snakes doesn't choose him, fine. He'll just go help the other celestial beings win instead. And the first prophet he crosses paths with, that'll be his first target. Kuray quietly begs him to stop talking. The Lord of the Seven Snakes leans forward on his throne, expression darkening. He asks if that's a threat. He warns the man that his starting position is already precarious. Provoking higher existences would make him a common enemy of forces he cannot comprehend. He asks why he should choose someone making threats at his front door. The man fires right back. He says he can win this game exactly this way. And he knows the rules. Higher beings aren't permitted to treat him as an enemy outright. He's not as exposed as the Lord thinks. Cold silence. The man grins and points a thumb at himself, predicting he's going to make it through this time. Just like the last one, except differently. Something shifts in the Lord of the Seven Snakes. Just slightly. He says he likes it. A shaft of light materializes. Somewhere else entirely. A man is sitting on the ground in shorts and a t-shirt, massaging his neck, looking like he had a rough night. He squints and asks what just happened to him. Then he hears his name called. Choi Waisu looks up, unshaven, bags under his eyes, completely off guard. He asks who this person is and how they know his name. Blood splatters. A massive red paw comes down and ends the conversation permanently. The Lord of the Seven Snakes speaks. The prophet will be changed. The red pole retreats back through the portal. And then, with what sounds almost like amusement, he declares that he will choose the man standing before him. A dialogue box appears. The Lord of the Seven Snakes has recognized you. A blue magical seal spreads beneath the man's feet. You have become a snake prophet. Special access granted. Teleport to the serpent vault now available. The man smiles. Not a big smile. Just a quiet, satisfied one. 3 doors stand before him. Gold, silver, bronze. The Lord of the Seven Snakes, who introduces himself here as Jor, casually, like that changes everything, tells him he can only open the bronze door. He can take whatever he wants from inside it. He also mentions that when the carnival begins, the prophets will be expected to guide the people. The man asks if they're seriously calling what's coming a carnival. Jor corrects him with a smile and says yes, that's exactly what they're calling it. Then the bronze door opens. Kurei, standing behind them the whole time, is visibly trembling. These two are chatting like old acquaintances while he can barely keep his knees from giving out just from being in this space. The doors close. He sits down on the floor. By the time they open again, he's somehow fallen completely asleep. He wakes up when his name is called, stumbles to his feet, and follows the man back up through the underground corridor and out through the portal. Kurei asks what he got. The man holds up what's in his hand. Red and black energy building around it, the number 8 glowing in the dialogue box. The legendary helmet of King El. The most haughty and greatest monarch in history. Enormous power. But with a catch, when used by a living being, it drains their life force. It only empowers the dead. Kurei stares at it with a dejected expression and asks why he chose something completely useless to a living person. The man notices Kurei's eyes on him and stutters out a nervous laugh. Says it's very well tuned. Then tells Kurei to show him his back. Kurei asks why. The man says he has heads. Pulls out a bag. 100,000 of them. Kurei shouts in disbelief. Asks if the Lord of the Seven Snakes just handed him that. The man says he got them from Jor. Kurei mutters that even for basic things, they always demand an unbelievable price in return. The man tells him he already knew that going in. Kurei asks what he paid. The man says nothing. Grins. Says he actually got paid because Jor was worried about him being singled out by other prophets for being a regressor, so instead of taking something, he gave him a mission. Kill 666,666 demons. The same feat as regression itself, now labeled as a legendary ranked quest. A dialogue box confirms it. Red wax seal, orange aura around the scroll. Legendary ranked quest received. The man smirks at it. Then another hidden quest adds itself to the list, 7 Snake Incarnation. Kurei asks what that one is. The man tells him to just hand over the bag and stop standing there like a statue. Kurei digs through the bag. The man tells him to find a sword, affordable at least rare rank, something within the head count he currently has. Kurei finds 2 options and the man sees both dialogue boxes appear before him. First, Widow's Eye. A sword given by a noblewoman to her late husband. Poisoned blade. Price 89,000 heads. Note. Cause of husband's death is a mystery. Yeah. Hard pass on that one. Second, Executioner's beheading blade. Blood stained with resentment. Price 77,000 heads. Warning. If not handled by a person of genuine integrity, it has the potential to turn the wielder into a murderous madman. The man thinks it over. 2 cursed swords, both with deep and troubling backstories, both suspiciously cheap because of it. He says exactly that out loud. The long descriptions and dramatic lore are just a dressed-up way of saying they're cursed. Kurei agrees. That's why they're discounted. He picks the second one. A black sword with a red stripe running through it. Clean looking, at least. He says he'll buy a bag for the remaining heads too. Kurei offers to include the bag. The man asks if it's free. Kurei pulls up the dialogue box. Dimwit's work belt, magic rank, designed for dwarfs with short legs, can hold tools larger than itself, cannot support living things for 100,000 heads. He complains that things with long histories are always hard to get rid of. The man grins, scratches his head, and says being Kurei's other self is costing significantly more than a pitiful bag. Kurei opens his mouth to respond and the sword vanishes from above the man's hand. Already stored. He asks Kurei what time it is. Kurei says 3. The man looks around at the empty street and wonders why it's so quiet. Kurei mentions there's a barrier on this side. The man says good, he won't be late then. Tells Kurei he did well. Kurei, back in his old man form, squints at him and asks if he's planning something now that he has the sword. Says he can tell he's definitely up to something. The man scowls and thinks, should he start searching for the other prophets? Then he smiles and says he has to go pick up his daughter. Kurei stares at his back as he walks away. The man raises a hand and says their classes are ending soon. They'll talk again later. Kurei watches him go in silence. 2 days before the gates of hell open. And for a brief stretch of time, the world still looks almost normal. He picks her up from school. They shop together, bags in both hands, wandering down the street like it's any other afternoon. Back home they play video games, her foot resting on his arm while he sits on the floor with the controller, completely unbothered by it. They sleep in the same bed. 2 days of ordinary life sitting right on the edge of everything. Sua Salmon, he calls her, is tying her shoelaces when she asks if today is the day he mentioned. He says yes. She checks her backpack, says she bought her own supplies with her pocket money, and asks if what he told her was enough. He asks if she believes him. She turns and grins and tells him she believes him because she's always been on his side. He gives her a small smile back, holds her hand,